So this is a more unstable build. It's a little bit later on in development, but it does have our ship hull crafting, from the shipyard. So before you would have seen the default hull. Now this is a little bit further on. It's entirely Coda art. So if it looks a little bit confusing at times, it's because we haven't had any sort of pass go over for that sort of thing. But what it essentially is, anyone's familiar with 3D modeling tools, is you're able to shape your hull with these sections to basically anything that you want. We have these little controls here as well, so you can kind of create a more curved sort of shape if you want. You can pull extra sections out. You can even sort of get a basic shape by just, you can also increase sections of it here. And then when you've got the basic shape, you can go in and start to kind of make other adjustments. So you might want to, this bit sort of coming out here and then curve it in like that. And so pull that in. And it's a big thing, like the players were sort of asking for, they really wanted to craft their own ship. We didn't want a sort of just creating it by blocks, which I think is a lot of sort of solutions to it, this kind of player creativity. We decided to go, hey, let's just get inspired by actual 3D modeling tools. And so, you are essentially able to sort of...
I mean, the plan was originally that we would put like a certain number, maybe 10 or something, pre-built hulls in the game. Like in the earlier part of the demo, you saw that was like a preset hull, right? And then everybody would have one of these 10, and you could progress and unlock better ones, et cetera, et cetera. But then, our community really came out and said, we really want to be able to create our own shapes. I want to create like a ball, I want to create like this really long skinny ship, and I want to create this crazy ship, blah, blah, blah. And we thought, well, we should probably think about whether we can bring this in earlier, and we did. And so now, we're doing it really, and so now we want you to be able to, create.
And so now, just like that, quite just manipulating some stuff, you can craft the hull itself, and then
of your
the parts you
dreams.
saw earlier applies where you put the helm down, you put where the cores goes, and you panel it up and stuff. But you have your basic shape, and later on in this tool we'll have where you can sort of divide up into corridors and rooms and stuff like that.
So did you guys opt to have this be sort of the way to make ships at this point, or you're still going to put in that where
this
preset ones?
This will be the default way of creating ships in the game. We won't have any really pre-built ships. There'll be some designs that are already set up for you. So if you don't want to mess with the 3D kind of like,
you might just edit like a shape rather
than start from scratch.
Yeah,
exactly.
But this is quite a small little one, and if we go down this valley here outside of the shipyard, you'll see as well there's updated like shipyard visuals from the other things. Just so this is a slightly later on build, but just to give you an idea of some of the ships you can make. Now again, because we are in alpha, the ships are looking pretty monochrome. We don't have the ship parts with sort of like completely final art. You can see here we've built like a much smaller little sort of skiff type thing, and the ability now with the ship shaping is you can sort of create your own cockpits. So go in the back here. I've been smart and put the fuel tanks by the helm, just for complete safety. So you can see I've set the artificial horizon just in front of me there, and then I've got the fuel off to the left. Mm-hmm. So I don't have it immediately in my vicinity, but it's just you can just pick up a ship and just start flying it just like that. That's the kind of the seamless game we kind of wanted. Mm-hmm. This is like a small nimble ship, probably pretty similar to build. Over here we've got a much bigger sort of classic flying ship that's almost like a galleon with wings.
What materials are on this?
So this is just like built entirely out of iron, to be honest. Let's try and actually get on it.
Luke couldn't be bothered to harvest all the iron, so he cheated.
Yeah, I just cheated it all in. But you can see I've started to kind of build little sort of room sections, quite light, stuff in here. And again, like these crates and lights is all entirely placeholder, but it gives you an idea of the sort of the freedom you have to just do whatever you want. And again, you can just jump on. There's not really any sense of ship ownership in the game. It's pretty freeform mechanically. You can just take on a ship and start to fly down a mountain valley. You could have 20 friends on here. You could have like just the two. But obviously, managing a ship of this size probably requires a fair amount of people.
Yeah, if you imagine being in combat with
like
this,
manning all these cannons and stuff that are sort of lining the deck.
Right. I imagine it would also take a lot of resources to.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to need a lot of people to be able to craft.
Anytime you take some
size.
damage, you'll have to repair it, and you need the resources to repair it.
But this thing, like trying to go through that storm earlier, it would sort of breeze through it because yes, it'd be getting struck by lightning, but it's so heavy that the wind wouldn't move it so much. And here we've got like sort of more like a hot rod spaceship thing. Not really sure what's going on here, but I was just kind of playing around with different shapes and sort of going a bit sort of
and this is
more unusual.
Are you not limited, like when it comes to making the initial frame though? You can make
Yes.
it any shape. You doesn't require any kind
There's
of
a
resources.
there's a limit to the size.
There'll be a limit to the size initially that will probably like increase, but we definitely don't want to be like you can build like a tiny dinghy initially. I think we want to give them a little bit of wiggle room to create something you find pretty cool, and then later on as you get that technology to start building just huge sort of like Zeppelin size things.
You'll be able to find better schematics to improve your shipyard to be able to build bigger ships, right? And that's one other track of progression. Were you trying to go?
The other one was.
This brings up a good point. Like this is the kind of thing that again the community brought up, right? And internally we weren't sure if we wanted to do it earlier rather than later, and the community really made us realize that we should do this earlier. And that's kind of one of those things where, this is now the generation of players that's grown up with Minecraft and Kerbal Space Program and all these things. They're not really satisfied with the traditional way of doing things in MMOs, particularly online games, which have been somewhat stale, right? They follow a very formulaic, very successful, very fun, but also in some ways very formulaic, way of doing things. And you can't imagine that kind of kid who's grown up playing Kerbal Space Program to be okay with, all right, this is like, you're set this, and you slot in whatever a few things, but this is the ship that you have, right? They want to be able to make their own thing. They want to add some shapes and make it sleek and do whatever and express themselves through their designs. So that's kind of the direction Worlds Adrift really.
Yeah. And also, this is your base. Like in a lot of these kind of games, you kind of build your base up, and it kind of almost gets rid of the exploration aspect because you only want to go so far away from where you put all your time and effort. Yeah. Whereas with us, we were like, well, what if the thing you were building, the thing that housed all your like resources and the things that you've gathered, could move, could fly, and then suddenly you take these huge structures basically with you, and they're your battle station. They're what you're going to have to defend yourself with, and come across other players and get in these huge skirmishes, these huge ship fights, essentially.
I mean, for me, the initial draw for the idea of the game was always like, I like the collaborative aspect of building something with my friends, and building a castle, doing all this stuff, right? A lot of games have that. But again, like Luke said, you can't take that with you. It's stationary, and so you got to go further and further to gather resources or find things, and it's kind of like, there's something that doesn't quite work about that. Whereas this is like, we're building a thing together, it's our base, we can, literally every part of it we built ourselves, right? From the frame, to the panels, to the protection stuff, to the engines, to the fuel tanks, and even down to the instruments. We literally place the instruments individually wherever we want, so that when you're flying it, you build your own UI, essentially, right? The in-world UI. And then you can improve it. You can swap out parts. Like, oh, I found some titanium. I want to replace that crappy copper thing, right? So you land, you dock your ship, you make some improvements, swap some things out, and then carry on. And then once you go through a storm, you take a bunch of damage, but then you make it out from the other side, and you dock, make some repairs, make some improvements. You're like, you know what? We shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have put this here. This is too close to that. Whatever it is, right? And then you make the improvements. You learn how to make your ship better. And maybe if you lose your ship, you're like, all right, let's start over. I got a way better idea for design. Instead of a long, skinny ship, let's do a big whatever ship. And that's the kind of that's the gameplay that really excites me. Right. And I hope a lot of our players agree.
Right. It's incredibly collaborative.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess like and that creative freedom and expressiveness is what we've extended through to like the islands. So we have the island creator, which is free on Steam, and every island you've actually seen us been playing on today has all been entirely player created. So it's like, even at this early stage, like we're in alpha, we're running alpha tests kind of like regularly, and then that is like, even now we've got the players who are actually physically building our world, which is also really exciting for us. It means that you pick that silhouette on the in the distance from the horizon, and travel there, and you don't know what you're going to find there, really.
But it's been thought about by somebody. It's not just procedurally generated.
Yeah.
Right.
But is it a combination of the two?
In the final game, it will be a combination of the two, right? And of course, there will be some islands that we author ourselves. But the fact that right now, we can't take any credit for these islands. They're beautiful. They're amazing. A lot of these designs we never would have made ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You kind of open it up to the community and you see all the crazy things they can come up with, all the beautiful, amazing designs that they come up with. And we see that with all kinds of parts of the game. With the ships, I imagine we'll see some ridiculous designs.
Yeah, that's what's the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
But cool.
So,
that wraps up like a very. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the game. Hopefully, as we kind of get that out into players, and they can start making more informal, better videos than we ever can. So, yeah. But thanks for watching.